also have outdoor space. And you can see that they care for the outdoor space immensely, because that's the space where they belonged before. That was their home. So this guy, for instance, I find this fairly incredible. They have very little money to get by. And to go to a pub and have beer there would be too expensive. So what do? They like the pub experience, but they buy the beer at the supermarket, and then they have created themselves some sort of a beer garden, environment in front of the house. This is how, in Germanic contexts, you decorate Bierstuben. I don't know, for whatever reasons. These men must have been hunters before. And then also in the drawings, we don't show the plants inside. We only show elevations, and from the facades and from the roof. But we show everything that is actually public, that they allow to be seen for the public. So you see the roof surface, but then you see the gardens, what they do with it. And it's quite amazing to see that every once in a while. So basically, if you want, I think we can stop here. If you want to have a look at the book, you can do right now with a couple of drinks. I have brought, I think, 7 or 8 copies in case somebody wants a Christmas present for their parents. If you have questions, I'd be very interested in answering them. But thanks for your attention, first of all.
Thank you, Andreas. I think this is one of the lectures that kind of shakes the ground beneath our feet. That makes us rethink the discipline, that makes us look at the profession through different eyes. My personal favorites are Sada Buddha exhibition that confuses you and attributes different functions to the things presented, almost inventing new typologies. And of people and houses, of course, which reminded me very much of this Wohnmodelle exhibition, the traveling exhibition in Vienna, and also it took place in Belgium. It also represented houses in a new way, interviewing people. So first they left people to enter the houses, and then they interviewed them 1.5 years, 2 years after they moved in, and also taking pictures 2 years after the and some creation projects were also presented in that on that exhibition. So you know about Andreas, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe I can just add to it. I liked in that exhibition, in the book about it, that they actually gave cameras to the people to shoot pictures of themselves. That was a very interesting approach. Yeah. Anybody have any question? You know how it's cool, if nobody comes up, you're given the microphone. You look so interested. Please.
Is your wife an architect? Or?
Yes, that's a good question. She is an architect, and that's why we can work quite well together, because we can each do things and understand things that the other does less. And it's actually interesting how we started working together, because in the beginning she was still working in an architecture office, and I was writing as a journalist. And I would show her my text and read my texts to her, and to hear what she thinks about it. And we got into kinds of discussions that were so interesting that I thought this is actually more interesting than the text itself. And I thought, okay, we should actually turn this into a way of producing a text. And actually we did. We invented a technique to, how's that to describe, to make discussion and making notes very quickly, stenographically almost, at the same time. So building an argument together, this is something that can take like hours. And sometimes it's multiple sessions. Sometimes it's frustrating, you don't really get a clear structure in the beginning. But then there's a second phase where you then, if the main structure is actually organized and works, then one of us writes it out. And this is how we make text. So then we started actually writing text together. She also is a graphic designer, and she designed some of our early books. And yeah, this is probably the most important thing for us, that we can actually do what I tried to describe before, to bridge this gap between a professional perception from inside the discipline of an architect and outside. Because we come from these different worlds. And it's quite interesting that even if we encounter a little for the first time, we have often fairly different ways of looking at it, and then try to interlock them. Yeah, and she can correct me on all the things that I don't understand and don't know, like drainage details, fascinating insulation technologies that are really essential to our survival. But it's quite nice to work this way. It makes me also feel that it's okay that I'm doing this type of work as a non-architect, because sometimes architects even feel, are you allowed to speak about this? I have these discussions in the case of this yearbook in crowds sometimes. Any other questions? Maybe I have a question to you, because I'm interested in knowing how this kind of staged photography feels for you. Because one of the criticisms of the book was obviously that they would say, yes, but this is so staged, or sometimes this is staged, isn't it? I say, yes, but that's the whole point. We don't try to hide that these things are staged. We have a photographer who obviously sort of puts into, who stages certain narrative scenes that probably wouldn't have happened otherwise. And I think it's fairly obvious to see, but that's also a little bit my question to you. I give you an example, because it's quite interesting that not all these situations in the book are actually controlled by the photographer and staged in this sense. Some of them actually just happened and were not intended, but were fantastic, and we just left them in. For instance, this project, this is a very interesting situation. This is a residential house in Graz, this one. It's a very old Baroque house on a market square that is fairly run down. You can see it's the red light district of Graz, and these architects in Lokad had to make a project renovating and making this old house, more beautiful. And they understood that their project would contribute to the future segregation of this district, which now is populated by all kinds of creative people that don't have much money. And they had some sort of a bad consciousness, and they tried to sort of not to make that project too chic. They tried to make it somewhat, keep a low profile, as they say in England. That's why they made it black. It's actually fairly difficult to make a stucco building black, because you have a heat absorption problem. But they engineered some super technological device that doesn't make the stucco crack under the impact of the heat. I'm very proud of that. So then they had this house, and obviously if the house is photographed by the normal photographer, the house is photographed alone. You don't see any context around it. You certainly don't see the sex club, the Eros club on the corner. However, if you come on the side, suppose you have seen it in the architectural magazine. Think, okay, I want to see this house, I want to know where it is. The first thing you obviously see is the Eros club, because it's on the corner and it has bright colors. It wants you to see it, even if it doesn't want you to see inside it. And we said, okay, it's also very clear that the decision to make this building black was influenced by the presence of that building over here. So it's impossible to tell the story of the Black House without the story of the Eros Club. So So we made this story up, where we have an encounter, an unlikely encounter of two black women. Ilka and I worked before in Dubai, and we've seen these women totally bare in black. It's quite threatening. I mean, it's a very intense experience. Some latent aggression about it, but it's also just very intense. It's a surreal moment. So we had two actors, basically, two young girls, be dressed with burqas, full body veils. They wear, you cannot really see it, designer bags, as like in a Dubai shopping mall. It is very clear that there are no burqa veiled women in Graz. Right? So it's an obvious staging, so to speak. We had these two girls walk up and down this pedestrian sidewalk for probably an hour, because, every time again, because we were waiting for the one moment where two actual prostitutes would walk out the Eros Club. Because we wanted that encounter. Because it's obviously, there's this relates to that, and their display of femininity relates in a different way to this house. So it's bright colors, it's about showing what you have, it's not about hiding what you have. Then these girls meet. You see that this girl puts her hand like this, because she's thunderstruck. And I can totally understand when I first saw in Malaysia a hotel. I was in an elevator, I drive up to my room, the elevator door goes up and there's 3 hooded figures. I thought it was the GSG-9 counterforce of Germany sort of thinking I'm a terrorist and wanting to imprison me. So it's quite a tense experience. So they actually met. So this is fabricated to 50%, right? Because we had these girls walk up and down. They were not fabricated. This guy now wasn't staged at all. He just passed by, but he's very curious to see what is happening. And he doesn't really understand what the hell is going on. So then this goes on in a situation where we try to show the building and always have these elements of alienness, of another culture. And you know that Austria and Styria in particular has a big problem with extreme right, very xenophobic political landscape. So this girl, then suppose one of these girls had gone inside, she has this kind of Persian rock, but by accident, another woman walks by with this type of Indian sari type of fashion pants. That wasn't staged. Then she is in here, sort of cleaning lingerie that she had bought in the shopping mall. This is the photographer. It's interesting because the photographer actually, because she's in the mirror, and she wanted to Photoshop herself out, and I said, no, Livia, stay in. It's interesting. You don't need to hide. I mean, you're part of this picture. It's interesting, these two different, females in one picture. Then you go in the apartment, you actually go up, it's a duplex apartment, you go up the stair, and you look up like this, and the eye of the stair is laid upon the glass plane. It's part of the kitchen, and this person has all kinds of elements from the kitchen decoratively placed upon it. And then obviously there's the knife. What is going on? Some aggressive act. We have the girl unveiled this time, but the cleaning product on the pane makes a veil. Then the two girls have barbecue, which is something that burqa veiled women are not particularly known to do in an everyday basis. And at that moment, a second story comes into. You see this beetle who makes these 360s. I mean, he's driving around like this. Obviously, he's doing this for somebody, and it's a beautiful way actually to showing this kind of side, which a normal photograph of this project will always cut here, right? But for us, this project is unthinkable without these kind of textures, this kind of site around it, this latent urban site which has been waiting there for 10 years and not be developed. And now that this project was developed, maybe it will be developed very soon. But it's part of this, so why edit it out? So this guy makes his 360s, and he does it for You see better in the book when you look at it later. For a girl that he had encountered in this building.